Revelation is kind of leans into that idea of the Roman peace, like you know, you will be peaceful if you just do what we say, type of thing. Like you will finally have peace, and so you kind of see that here at the end of chapter 13. So we are going into chapter 14 in Revelation today, and before we read it, I kind of want to start reading kind of, I think like verse 9, something like that in chapter 13, just to get us into chapter 14, because we really see a big divide going on between this. Because really, I think it was chapter 12 and 13 of Revelation, it really looks like evil is just ruling and reigning. Remember what we were talking about, like the Antichrist is what we were, all this language that we were using for here, because you have this dragon, the serpent, who gets this mortal wound, or the dragon's like serving the man who gets this mortal wound, but it doesn't die from it. And that's really, like, when you look at it, that's like I can't use that word in this class, a forfeit of the gospel. It's whenever you see somebody that is all about power, but there's like this little like resurrection story in it. It's like taking Christ, but it's the opposite. It's the opposite of the Hebrew Messiah that we know, and that is in Jesus. And that's what we end up seeing. And it looks like it's all this great big power thing, and yet John at the end of 13 goes, his number is 666, which is just, it's incomplete, it's human, it's that, and it's kind of this lowering, and then in 14 it kind of goes into the stratosphere again, right? And it's not about power seeking, it's not about any of that, but it's all these other things. So I want to start reading. Let's see, I had this, and see, I am recording. Yeah, I'm recording. Get the AI going. All right. So let's see here. So let's share the screen, and we will read chapter, the end of 13 and 14. Let's see here. We'll share sound, optimize for video.
You said we're picking up from verse 9?
Yeah, something like that. I need to make sure.
That's where cursor lands.
Yeah, well, I thought it was good to hear that, like, starting off with that, if anyone has ear to let him hear. And then the whole, like, he who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Like, it's, it's basically like, like watch out, if you seek only violence, like, this is what you will get, type of thing. And so let's see here. And so I'll start. I gotta share the screen. It's almost like I don't know what I'm doing. Here we go. I've figured it out. Now watch the sound not work for some reason. I didn't test that.
If anyone has an ear, let him hear. He who leads.
See? Sound didn't work. Make sure Zoom is working the way it's supposed to. It looks like it is. Audio settings. Yeah, it's on the right stuff. Okay. All right. Now it will work.
If anyone has an ear, let him hear. He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. He performs great signs, so that he even makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 666. Then I looked, and behold, a Lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, like the voice of many waters, and like the voice of loud thunder. And I heard the sound of harpists playing their harps. They sang as it were a new song before the throne, before the 4 living creatures and the elders. And no one could learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. These are the ones who are not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are the ones who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. These were redeemed from among men, being first fruits to God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no deceit, for they are without fault before the throne of God. Then I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice,
Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made heaven and earth, the sea, and springs of water.
And another angel followed.
Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
Then a third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice,
If anyone worships the beast and his image and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand, he himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, and they have no rest, day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name.
Here is the patience of the saints. Here are those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Then I heard a voice from heaven saying to me,
Right. Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on.
Yes, that they may rest from their labors, and their works follow them.
Then I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and on the cloud sat one like the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him who sat on the cloud,
Thrust in your sickle and reap, for the time has come for you to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe.
So he who sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. Then another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, who had power over fire, and he cried with a loud cry to him who had the sharp sickle,
Thrust in your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe.
So the angel thrust his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and threw it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trampled outside the city, and blood came out of the winepress, up to the horses' bridles, for 1,600 furlongs.
All right. Oh, we got someone here.
Numbers.
Yeah. Got the numbers here. Let's see who is. I don't know who that is. We'll see who this is coming in. Okay, so So we got some interesting imagery going in there. We need to remember the grapes. So is that the grapes of wrath going on there? Like that's what is that a reference to? What am I referencing? I know that reference. It's a book. Okay, yeah. 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 Okay.
Also the name my aunt gave to her. That's another story.
Yeah. So, okay, so then, all right, so let's look at all of this. So I wanted to get us into that 13 beforehand. We've already talked through 13, but kind of this whole idea of like all these people have just gone after the beast, right? Like this, just they've all just gone after him. You know, like he is like that was over there, and it looks like that he's all powerful and mighty, but reality is it's just 666, and we're kind of, and it's just this human number and all that stuff. And what we kind of see here is we kind of see that it's not all it's all cracked up to be type of thing. You know, it's not all there. It's not all there. So that's I don't know who you are on the watching on the phone there, but if you want us to see you, we need to you got to turn on your camera, and also you come into everything muted, so like that. But you're welcome just to watch. All right, so we started. So what do you hear here? What's going on? What's going on? Oh, there we go. How you doing? You got your camera now, but we still can't hear you though. Yeah. That's I don't know where it is on your phone. Like there you go.
There you go.
There it is. Yeah, you're there. All right.
Oh, hi guys.
Hello. Good to see you. Good to see you all the way up from New York. All right. Oh,
Louise?
yeah, that's it. That's Louise.
That's Louise.
Yeah. Oh, she froze. I don't know.
Yeah, she's in New York.
Yeah.
It's cold up there.
It is cold up there. Okay. All right. So right here at the beginning of chapter 14, we see something that immediately connects what is happening now to what had just happened in chapter 13. Do you see that? You see what I'm talking about? Or what stands out to you here at the beginning of 14? Let's do it that way. What stands out to you? No one today? No what?
Uneventful.
Uneventful? Yeah. So we have one sitting with 144,000. So we're given an incomplete number with the 666. You know, and then all of a sudden we get 12 times 12. You know, all of a sudden we get one of our good numbers, one of the numbers that's already been presented as good earlier in the book. And so we have the 144,000. And notice what they have, having his father's name written on their foreheads. You know, like that's which sounds just like the mark of the beast, right? And again, we're getting into that idea. Remember, it was John 3:16 of the Old Testament, which is Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4, where it says like, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one," and it says, "Wear them on your body, on your frontlets of your face," and all that stuff. So the mark of the beast is like the upside down version of that, and in order to. And when you have that mark of the beast, which is kind of this false god thing, you in order to take part in that one horse, was that the black horse that had the scales of the buying and selling? You have to take part in that horse of the apocalypse in order to buy and sell. You have to get that. I can't remember what color the horse was. Yeah, it was a horse. And so one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse was holding the scales, and that meant like commerce and buying and selling. And we see it here with the mark of the beast. And then he's like, then we see this Antichrist figure in this beast here the whole time. And then at the beginning of 14, it's like, and I looked, and like you have all this good stuff, 144,000, Mount Zion, all this good stuff. And then they had their father's name. So it's not the mark of the beast. They have their father's name written on their forehead, right? And and I heard a voice that was like a waterfall, like that. Which is interesting imagery, like many waters. Voice that was loud like thunder. And I heard the sound of a harpist playing the harp, which is, I don't know, can you hear a harp? There's like voices like waterfalls around, like that. That's, like that. That's, you guess you could, yeah, like that. That's,
depends on
yeah.
proximity.
Yeah. And so they heard this. There's this harpist playing, and they sang a new song. What do you think they're talking about there with singing a new song? What does that mean, do you think? Anyone have an idea?
I think it's the return of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like I think it's like signaling like redemption, like recreation is coming in. Like they're singing like new wineskins, to quote Jesus. Like that's because I think we were introduced to this old way that looks familiar with this beast coming out of the sea and just trampling and all these people just go into and receive the mark for the power of it all, right? It's almost idolizing power, and so so all of a sudden you have all these people that have God's name on their forehead. And they're singing this new song there, and it's like this song of redemption, and no one could. Let's see, this is the second half of verse 3. No one could learn the song except the 144,000, who were redeemed from the earth, which is kind of. So it's like I think that's the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's it's just that's
The study because martyrs.
Yeah.
Martyrs were resurrected now and singing these songs.
Because that's who was the 144,000 earlier.
That's what it was.
Was the martyrs, right? So those martyrs, so they are singing this new song. But this is one of these good numbers. It's one of these complete numbers.
The voice from heaven, wouldn't that be the gospel coming down?
Yeah, I think so. It's good news, right? Yeah, it's good news. Like coming down. And because there's some scary stuff coming up from these three angels, and I don't think it's meant to be. Yes, it's scary, but I don't think it's meant to be read quite like that. And that's why I'm kind of setting up the way this is. So they sing this new song. It's the 144,000 that redeemed on the earth. And remember, what's the same word for martyrs? It's the same word as another word we used in Revelation. Does anyone remember? Remember, it's the same word as witness. Martus in Greek is witness, right? Yeah. See? Like the Greek guy over here. Like you have Martus, means martyr, those that die, but it also means to witness, like to witness to this. So you have all this going on here. So all right. So you have these witnesses here that are singing the new song, and these are the ones that were not defiled, the women, for they're only virgins, the ones who followed the Lamb wherever he goes. These were the redeemed among men, being first fruits to God and to the Lamb. What do you think? What's he talking about there, do you think?
The Jews that followed him, I think.
Yeah. Like the people that actually followed him that didn't get that mark, and they're and they're pure, right? Like they're I think that's what it says. Like I think that's what the virgins reference is about. Like that. You immediately you kind of get into this lamb language, which is definitely a pure animal in Hebrew speak. These were the redeemed among men, being first fruits to God and to the Lamb. And so again, we get notice the and the other translations. It's using the words like first fruits, right? Yeah. So notice how it's using this fruitfulness language, like fruit, like this, like their purity is this fruits language and all that stuff. And in their mouth was found no deceit, for they were without fault before the throne of God. So like they're fruits, and they're found faultless. Then we start dealing with those that have been drinking the wine. And I don't think this is how our Baptist friends view wine. I think this is the wine of the beast, the
Kool-Aid, as it were.
Yeah, they've been drinking the Kool-Aid. They've been, that's a good way of putting it. Because that's a good way of putting it, because of what he says in where we started reading, that he who kills with the sword, must be killed with the sword. Like that. That's if you put this bad in it, you put the sin in it and just live in it, call the sin righteousness and all that stuff like that. It's what you're gonna get out of it. And so you have all this stuff. So I feel like I'm talking a lot. Like that's.
I feel like that's true.
Yeah. Like that's. I'm not doing a good job of getting everyone talking today. So then I saw another angel. This is verse 6. Then I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to him in the hour of his judgment. For the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made heaven and earth, and sea and the springs of water. I don't know. What are you seeing? What are you seeing?
I'll go back to first fruits for a second.
Yeah.
Paul uses the term first fruits when he refers to the early converts, the first people who became Christians and everywhere he set churches.
Yeah.
And so when I read this, I guess I was thinking these are the people who got it early, who understood the story, who Christ was early on. And I guess you wanted someone to talk, and I'm sorry, but I guess I wonder how that fits into this narrative that you're getting up here, because I read it differently.
How'd you read it?
Well, I just read it that these were the people who believed and followed Christ on earth before we got to the tribulation.
Yeah.
He took those people away, and now it's the rest of the people who didn't believe where he's at. And am I crazy?
I don't know. I don't think you're crazy in that. And I think that's so to kind of understand where my head is in this and how wrong it could be is I don't know if we're talking about like certain time frames here. It's like I'm not like this then that. It's kind of these concepts of what is going on around here that you have all these people that have bought and sold, and now you have these that are pure, these first fruits, and you have the 144 language, which if we remember at the beginning, they're all underneath that altar, saying how long and all that stuff. But you also have that Martis language, which is witnesses, which calls us back to the churches. Like if you remember, so let me see if I can get my head straight around this. So remember you had those two witnesses, and they were like the lampstands. That was a few chapters back. They're like the lampstands. That was also the language and how the churches were described. That the churches were described as like this Martis, these witnesses. And so we're introduced to these two witnesses again, which could be Moses and Elijah, or or something like that. But I kind of think it's interesting that this is like stand in for the church, and we go forward, and then we're introduced to these people again, that like these pure ones type of thing, and that they never even, whether they were taken out early, which I think is a valid reading, or that not. There's definitely like a juxtaposition brought in here between the mark of the beast and these people. Like I think like that's over there. You want to say something, Gloria?
No, I was just wondering about the rapture. You hear about the rapture all the time. Do you think these people were taken up before the revelation, before the tribulation, or whatever this battle is coming up with the 7 years? And maybe they're talking about those people that are already in heaven.
Maybe like that. That's like I don't know how much timing is going on here.
No.
Yeah, it's hard.
Like when you read the Gospels and then you come to these verses that says, well, they're going to be taken up.
Yeah.
That almost sounds like it's before all this stuff happened.
And so, and what I think's being said here is we're using this fruitfulness language, and these angels holding these sickles and all of that stuff. We're seeing the reaping of the fruits of the world is what we're seeing. And that's how I see this playing out. You have these people that they were not partaking in the fruits of the world, that their fruits are this pure thing. We have all these descriptions of purity, like following after the Lamb, and they didn't do after this, but these other ones, they have gone after the world, and that world is going to be, it's going to be reaped, and that's a scary time. Like you think about like that's scariness, and it's okay for it to be scariness, but it also makes sense. Like that's that the grapes are being kind of turned into this wine that they are kind of drinking. Doesn't it talk about?
Eventually, the wine turns into blood.
Yeah, and the wine turns into blood.
Verse 20.
Yeah,
It sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah.
If you're a Catholic.
Yeah. Well, it's no. I mean, it's just we believe that. We believe that. We just don't know when it happens. We just know it's up there. Like that's.
You look up a furlough and look how big a furlough is. It's the length of the Holy Land.
Oh, okay.
That is how much in gauges there.
Okay.
Sometime or other we must have.
So what verse was that? What verse is that where you're seeing furlough?
20.
20. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So so it's massive. Yeah.
My translation says 1600 AD.
Yeah.
Yeah, this translation says a distance of about 200 miles.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That's a lot of wine going out there.
Yeah. So I think verse 8 is really well, right before we get to verse 8, you see this: to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people. Like this is like they're preaching the euangelion, the good news, the gospel, like to all of us, and it seems like there aren't really many that follow type of thing. Like he's preaching this. So verse 8, and then another angel followed, saying, Babylon is fallen. Like this, like Babylon is fallen, the great city, because she has made all nations drink the wine of wrath of her fornication. Like what do our other English translations, how do they render that?
Maddening wine of her adulteries.
Okay, over adulteries, yeah. The maddening wine. Is any of the other translations?
Wine of the wrath.
Wine of the wrath. All right, like that's, and so, okay, so wine of the wrath, the maddening wine, right? Wine. So like I think you see what's going on here is that Babylon. Let's put the Chris Escher narrative on it.
Oh boy.
All right, you ready?
Okay.
So here we go. Here's your local heresy for the day. The reason why I think the Israel, the Jews, were taken into exile was, and I've said this for years now, is that, well, if you wanted to be Babylon so bad, here you go. You know? And I'm reading Corinthians right now, because we're preaching on it. And Paul is so upset at them because they are like magnifying the ways of Rome or the ways of Babylon over and above the ways of the Redeemer of the Christ. Like that they are gone full into that, and which means that they prize division over being together, and that's Paul's big idea in Corinthians, and you see Jesus and how the gospel writers treat them, especially the Gospel of Mark. Mark starts off with, this is the gospel, this is the good news about Jesus Christ, the Son of God, making fun of Rome right there. And I think people disagree with me, smart people disagree with me on this, but I think that the crucifixion of Jesus in Mark is a mockery of a Roman coronation of a Caesar. Like it's the easiest place to see that is they would take the Caesar up on top, sacrifice a bull up on top of Capitoline Hill, which is Head Hill. And then in Mark's gospel, they take Jesus to Golgotha, the place of the skull. Like that. It's this thing, and it's this showing this. It's almost like how John here in Revelation is having this false version of the Christ, of this beast having a mortal wound and coming back to life, and then telling you to put frontlets on your foreheads and your markings here, right? All this stuff is just wrong and backwards, and so all this stuff is always just blamed on Babylon, like it's just called Babylon, and so you hear this other angel saying, Babylon is done. Babylon is done. But she, Babylon, or Rome, or any of these, they have made the nations drink the wine of wrath, drink the wine of madness, drink the wine of, like, I can't remember of wrath. I think that was the other translations and all that stuff, and adultery or fornication, like all that stuff. Like, Israel went into exile because she wanted to drink the wine of wrath and fornication about it. And God's like, fine. Like it's what I'm saying is, through my lens, which could be wrong, I see a clear connection between the Old Testament narrative about why Israel is in Babylonian captivity to why all this is happening here. Does that make sense?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I mean, I can see the connection between the two narratives. I think when he talks about drinking the maddening wine, though, and this is, I think, playing exactly what you're saying. In my feeling about it is that he's talking about the people who chose Babylon, Rome, and what they said to them versus what God said to them. In other words, the adultery was they went this way instead of staying with the person who brought them, as it were.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's just bigger than that. Because I think it's talking to a problem that we all have, that we often drink this wine of Babylon. Like that's.
By that you mean we fall into the habit of listening to what's going on in the world around us and adopting world.
Yeah. It's the same reason why Paul is upset at the Corinthians. Because they have fallen into this Roman way. They have fallen into this way of Babylon. And he's writing through that. It's this sinful way, like all that stuff. And I think it's, I don't know, that's kind of, and I think if you were a Christian, imagine Paul, who was basically tarred and feathered and thrown on this island, and he's writing these visions that he's seeing and all that stuff. And imagine a group of people that are under the thumb, of Babylon, and they're like, yeah.
Weren't they star worshippers?
Yeah.
Worship astrology.
Yeah, that's what Apollo is. That's
Nimrodism, I guess they called it back then.
Yeah, like you had Jupiter and like all these, they could all see the gods in the heavens there, Like that's, yeah.
For a moment, with our indulgence, can we circle back to the expanse of the effluence of the wine? You said it's furlongs? Furlongs? Now, my translation is stadia or stadia.
Okay, yeah, stadia. It says like there's 600 of them or something.
1,600, which now we get into the numerical rabbit hole.
10 times 10 and 4 times 4.
And it is multiple of 4, meaning the 4 corners of the earth, which means this covered the entire
everything, then, not just Jerusalem.
Yes.
All right, we haven't gotten there yet, but I want to look at it. So that's good. 20, you said?
Yeah.
It's
20
same
virtually.
Let me bring
300 kilometers.
Zoom over.
I only got down 175 miles.
Apparently the conversion rate is low.
All right, let's see. The trodden wine press outside the city and flowed blood out of the wine presses high. The bridles of horses distance. So state.
1,600.
Yeah. So that's 1,600. So that's so what the King James is probably doing there is King James is probably translating a modern unit of measure so that their readers could a modern by their standard, a contemporary, that's a better word, a contemporary of them unit of measure that people would have been like, oh yeah, I know that.
I don't have it in my footnotes. This was something that came up in a Bible study.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know where he got it from. Actually.
So it's stadia, like the distance of a stadia, of 106. Let's see, 1,600 stadia. So that's what's in the Greek. Statium. So yeah. All right. So we'll get there. We may not get there till next week, but we'll get.
It's approximately the length of Palestine from the north to the south.
Yeah. So just a big old relevant area, which think about what's being said there, it's a big area. All right. So then verse 9, then the third angel followed them saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast in his image and receives his mark on his forehead and his hand, he himself shall also drink the wine. See all this connection to this wine? Like that he shall drink the wine of the wrath of God. I made a mark, called it idolatry here. Like that's the worshiping Babylon, basically, which is poured out full strength into a cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb, and the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, as they have no rest day or night who worship the beast in his image, whoever receives the mark in his name. So, what do you think of that?
Sounds like it's coming out of hell.
Yeah, fire and brimstone. That's literally some fire and brimstone teaching right there. Yeah. Like but I think you're seeing it's basically the same idea that was in verse 8. That like this, Babylon has made the nations drink this wine of adultery, and you're seeing now kind of like, all right, here's what that looks like. And if you remember from chapter 13, if you kill with the sword, you'll be killed with the sword. Remember, Pax Romana, Roman peace. Like, you cannot forget these things that existed in the popular mind of people back then. And for those of you that don't know what Pax Romana is Rome saying, like, you'll have peace when you do what we tell you to, like all that stuff. And when you grab a hold of that way, you basically are saying the same thing, like, and that's kind of what John is saying here, like that you've gone full into this whole idea. Let's see here. So, but this is, yeah, go ahead. Someone say something.
Is this like the drinking of the wine? I just wondered, is that like the communion, right? Drinking of the wine of Christ is the good, or drinking wine of Babylon, being you're committing yourself to.
That's a good connection. Because you think about what was going on in the Last Supper, especially in the Gospel of John's Last Supper. It's all centers around the foot washing and the redeeming of all of the disciples, right? Like, and so that's a good connection. I wasn't there. That's good. And so that it's all about forgiveness. That the Christian communion of the drinking of wine is about receiving forgiveness, and everything that we've seen with the four horsemen of the apocalypse and all that stuff, the wine of Babylon here is not about that. Yeah. So you want to say something? You look like you do.
No.
All right. So verse 12. So here is the patience of the saints. Here are those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Then I heard the voice from heaven saying to me, "Write, blessed are the dead who died in the Lord from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors and their works follow them." So zoom out. It helps to zoom out. We always talk about judgment and things like that. Got to keep those same ideas going on here. And as we zoom out and you see judgment is falling onto these people. And I think that's what these grapes of wrath that we're going to see here in a little bit. This is this judgment that's going on to them. And they're almost judging themselves. All that's happening is that, So you see now with verse 12 through 13 there, that these righteous ones are here the whole time, and they're almost kind of shielded from this a little bit. So I don't know. Does anyone have any ideas? What's going on? This is difficult stuff. Yeah.
That combination again, drinking the wine, which if it's from the Babylon or the bad, there's no rest. They're in torment and fire and brimstone. Yet when we talk about on 13 or 14, when he says they have rest now, the people that blessed are the holy dead, they are allowed peace and rest. You see, it's the division. You're making a choice, good or bad, to me, and looks like that's what it's.
Yeah, it's definitely a different vision of all this, of the peace. Verse 12. Here's the patience of the saints. What do the other translations say there?
Call it the endurance of the saints.
Endurance of the saints. Okay. Okay, endurance of the saints. All right, that's good. Like, yeah, patience isn't a terrible word there either. So like that, the endurance, like the steadfastness of all this going forward here. So
And just to bear patiently the burden of the fierce persecution.
is that what the note says? Yeah. What do you think that means? Like this?
It just means these are people who held on to their faith in spite of the persecution.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's saying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Like holding on in the midst of persecution of Babylon.
My footnote, which I think is saying those stanzas, says those cleansed by holy baptism love the Lord who first loved them.
Mm-hmm.
That love is the first step to obedience to God's commandments.
So think about this too. Yeah. Like especially how we kind of do baptisms here, and I don't really do this too much, but a lot of baptisms that do like what we do, we'll put the sign of the cross on the forehead and stuff like that. You know, that's a great image for what we're talking about here. You know, especially what Len just said. You know, like that. That's.
I've also seen them do the sign of the cross on your forehead and on your heart.
Mm-hmm.
All places.
Yeah.
To symbolize their part of the family, and they're called as part of the family of Christ. It is a symbol. It's applying a symbol of a redeemed.
Yeah. So like that's, and so you kind of have this back and forth that is going on here. We're kind of running out of time, but we'll
need to get to the reaping.
Yeah. So then I looked and behold, and a white cloud, and on that cloud one set like the Son of Man. This is Jesus language, like that. So Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, in his hand a sharp sickle, and another angel came out of the temple, crying out in a loud voice to him who sat on the cloud, thrust in you to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. So he sat on the cloud, thrust his sickle into the earth, and the earth was reaped. You kind of reap what you sow, right? Like is that where this phrase, was that where that phrase comes from? Maybe, I don't know. Like that's, but you kind of see that phrasing going on. You kind of reap what you sow. This Babylon has just been sowing all this stuff constantly, and now they're reaping it. Then let's see here. Then 17. Then another angel came out of the temple, which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar and had power over fire, and cried out a loud cry from him with a sharp sickle, saying, "Thrust in your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe." So the angel thrust the sickle into the earth and threw it in great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trampled outside the city, and the blood came out of the winepress up to the horses' bridles for 1,006 furlongs, 1,600 furlongs. And so like, I don't know, how is this sitting with you, with everything we kind of talked about today, with this great sickle? And
it's interesting because there's a reference that goes back to Joel, and then it's in Joel 3 where the nations are judged. And in it, he says the same thing: "Swing a sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, trample the grapes, for the winepress is full, and the vats overflow. So great is their wickedness." Same imagery in Joel, the judgment of the nations. I guess I look at this and I think, we're in trouble.
Like that's, and so I mean, we look at all this stuff, and you see this great sickle, and whenever I think of a sickle and like the wine press, I have to work at it and look back into what I know that stuff kind of looked like back then. And with the sickle, and they would burn things at the same time, as they were working. So
I have a sickle.
Yeah, like you have a sickle? All right, cool.
I never saw the music.
Yeah. But like, it reminds me of the Jesus imagery of like, don't separate the wheat from the chaff, like that, and they would, or the wheat and the weeds, And
The
all
wheat
that
and the weeds and
and then the harvest, Matthew, and the harvest is coming up, and there was, if you picture like harvesting back then, it was kind of, I don't know, it's kind of almost like a violent affair. They're really going at it. They're separating everything and like all that stuff. It's this visceral image, and I think this visceral image, like that John is getting into that, but also like with this wine press, and he's been weaving in this narrative of like, you're drinking Babylon's drink, you're drinking Babylon's drink, and that blood that comes out of that reaping like covers the whole earth. It's hard for me to explain exactly what that looks like in my head, but like it's like, yeah, you can see the grapes that have the fruitfulness of Babylon falling all over, and the blood just running through the streets. It's not hard for us to imagine that.
All judgment.
It's not, and I would say this, it's not too hard to see that today. Because remember, we're dealing with now, not yet. He's dealing with, and I think this is why we still read Revelation, is he's dealing with this imagery that is so much bigger than just like, yeah, there's blood in the streets all around Rome. There's blood in the streets all around Rome.
Caesar was killing all the Christians.
Yeah. Like the Caesar was killing all the Christians around here, all that stuff. And we can see it when Paul is talking to the Corinthian church. That it's and he's like, flee from it. Remember, Christ died and rose again. Like Corinthians ends with the resurrection, and he's getting to that point. And so. Yes, I think we're just looking around here, and what I see from this book is like, yeah, it's all scary around it, but it's the reality of Babylon all around us, and it's scary and stuff, but God is still holding fast to these ones in the midst throughout this narrative, Like God is still holding fast and all of that. So I don't know. Like that.
Can I ask you?
Yeah, go ahead.
The three angels. Well, the man on the cloud. Then one angel comes from the temple, and one from the altar. Are we talking like the Trinity? What
I don't know. I wish I knew.
The cloud being Jesus, the temple, God, and the altar, the Spirit. I don't know either. I just wondered if that's what they were talking about.
I have no idea.
Is there a hint of transfiguration going on there with the cloud and that?
Oh, like a hint of transfiguration with the cloud? Maybe.
There's verses that says that Jesus will come back with a cloud in the air.
So let me look up something. Well, I don't need to do it here. I can do it in my actual Bible. But how Matthew ends his gospel is like this. So this is Matthew. Oh, that's Mark. Hold on. I went too far. Here we go. And so this is Matthew 28, verse 16. And then the 11 disciples went away to Galilee to the mountain which Jesus had appointed for them. When he saw them, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and spoke to them, and saying, all authority has been given me in heaven and earth. Therefore go make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and teaching them to observe everything I've commanded you. And lo, I'm with you always, even to the end of the age. Oh, maybe it's Luke. Sorry. I'm looking for the ascension. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Luke chapter 24, verse 50. And he led him out as far as Bethany, and he lifted up his hands and blessed them. Now it came to pass, while he blessed them, that he was parted from them and carried up to heaven. And they worshipped him and returned to Jerusalem in great joy, and were continually in the temple praising and blessing God. And so, like that heavens there. What are the other English translations? How do they render that? Like, he departed from them?
He was parted from them and carried him up into heaven.
Withdrew from them.
Withdrew from them? Yeah. All right. Withdrew. In heaven, like it's definitely a church history that like they were looking up and kind of like the clouds kind of formed around them and stuff like that, and kind of took away the kind of vision there. So that there may be some like, this is just where Jesus is now, and that's where the clouds are coming from and stuff like that. I don't know how much I would stand on that Trinity understanding, but that's interesting. It is interesting that there's three things going on there. That should be avoided.
I've wondered why it was three.
Yeah.
And also the one angel controlled fire.
Yeah.
Has controlled fire. That was another question I had, is why was that in there? If there was must mean something.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either. It could just be like an imagery of like that of just judgment and fire and hell and destruction and like all that stuff that he's got, like here it comes. So like that's
my footnote on that last verse in Luke refers to Acts 1:9. It says after he said this, he was taken up before their very eyes, and a cloud hit him.
Okay, cloud hit him from the side. I knew it was in there somewhere. It was in Acts, which is Luke 2. Like that. Right, or Second Luke is how we say it in church world. But yeah, okay, good, yeah, because I knew it was in there. All right, so I think that is kind of some like, this is where Jesus is now. He's like in the clouds, and kind of showing it there. But I don't want us to lose the forest for the trees to see that God is like these people that are having patience and endurance. They're okay. They're okay. And it keeps reminding us of that as we go through all those things. So yeah. Any other last things?
I have a comment. And
Yeah.
Really, when we read through the last of 13 again, what talked about the 666.
Yes.
And that night went, after we went through that, had the inspirational station on, and just happened to somebody was talking about this woman had been bent over or something for 18 years.
Oh, yeah.
And then Jesus healed her, and then we said, now, what's the significance of 18? We're close.
Yeah.
666.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's a lot of.
So here's these fun number things.
There's a lot of 18s.
Yeah.
So she isn't complete or healed until he heals her.
Yeah. That's good.
It's just amazing how the numbers.
Yeah.
Mean more than I ever dreamt.
Well, that's why I like looking at them like emojis. Because it's hard to know exactly what they mean, but you get a picture in your mind. It's like, oh yeah, like this incomplete idea. Yeah, like that. That's and I don't know if you guys understand the emoji language. I feel like you do, but it's a small little picture that's meant for communicating, and sometimes that speaks more than the words. But good deal. So we'll end right there. For everyone watching this recorded, thank you for joining us today. All right.